point. Joining us now, Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. I want to talk to you more about why an aid package of this size might be needed. It seems to match with the juiced-up rhetoric of the administration, with Lloyd Austin saying that Ukraine has the potential of winning here, matching the Biden administration's actual decisions, sending, for example, an ambassador back to Ukraine. We had Ukraine's foreign minister on the show this week saying we are paying the price for the world's safety. Can you explain to us how everything, to an extent, could be on the line here?
Absolutely. We've provided a lot of aid to Ukraine, as you know, both military and humanitarian. And crucially, as you were talking about earlier, so have so many countries. Our allies have come together. Partnerships across Europe, Australia, other countries have contributed to giving Ukraine the ability to fight, to go up against a much larger, better funded foe and more than hold their ground. As you described, the initial fight over Kyiv, the Russians were blunted, and now they've changed their tactics. They're trying to win in the east and the south, and Ukraine needs more help. We passed a robust package just about a month ago of $14 billion. That is just about exhausted. Ukrainians need everything you would think they need in terms of munitions, in terms of support, in terms of humanitarian and medical aid. This package is going to be crucial to enable them to continue to win this fight.
So Ukrainians are fighting the fight for their country, for their land, for their people. But I think it's been explained many times over why this has an impact on the stability of Europe and the world. Is it possible this aid package will get caught up in politics and be delayed?
Well, first of all, I always hate it when people say it gets caught up in politics. Politics is life. Politics is negotiating an agreement to meet the needs of everybody involved. So it's not just politics. It's trying to get through all the different things that people are concerned about. I will tell you, in this particular case, I don't think that this package is going to be slowed down by other concerns. There is bipartisan, bicameral support for this package. Now, I think they're going to spend probably the next week in the Senate talking about the issue of the COVID relief package, and then the Republicans have their immigration issue, Title 42, I think it is. But that is not going to hold this up. If a deal can be struck that includes other things, they'll do it quickly. If it can't, we're going to pass this package as is. It is that urgent. We're down to the last few $100 million of that first aid package. The president, I think, is planning on announcing another $250 million in drawdown authority to be used next week, and that will exhaust it. So by about a week, the week after next, this package is going to need to be passed. And given the incredible support in Congress, both House, Senate, bipartisan, I think it's going to get done, whatever else may be going on.
Yeah, that's effectively what President Biden said yesterday. I don't care how you get it through, bigger deal, standalone, just get it to Ukraine. Mr. Chairman, let me ask you about a question that was raised not just by Republicans, but some Democratic senators who fully support all of this legislation and the aid that's going out to Ukraine, but asking the question, how are the American stockpiles holding up? In other words, at the rate this stuff is going out, are you confident as Chairman of Armed Services that the United States can maintain its own military readiness at home?
Yeah, we've got work to do. In fact, there's a couple of specific portions of this package that focus on building up that stockpile. I mean, what we've learned in this fight is, we don't have the surge capacity that we need to meet a threat of this magnitude. And it's easy to think, we've been at war more or less for the last 20 years on and off in Iraq and Afghanistan, but that was an entirely different fight. That was primarily a counterterrorism fight. We weren't involved in a battle against a major military power, and the sheer volume of munitions alone that are required to fight that fight is beyond what we had anticipated. So there are specific provisions in this bill to build up that stockpile and to improve our production capacity. I just want to make one key point on this. The only way to get this done, again, is about our allies. It's about building a broad coalition. The United States on its own cannot build everything we need to deter, to fight Russia in Ukraine, to help the Ukrainians do that, then to deter Russia, to Mika's point about the broader threat to Europe and the globe, but also to deter China. As you guys have reported very well, there really isn't much difference between China and Russia in terms of their global outlook. We are going to need a global alliance strong enough to deter both of them. The U.S. is going to have to lead, but it's going to require a broad partnership across the globe to make sure we have the supplies we need to do that. It's not easy, and it's not just going to happen. We're going to have to be very deliberate and work together to make sure we do what needs to be done.
Congressman, I'm curious, looking from the outside, can you talk a little bit about the logistics capability here? Obviously, timeliness of these weapons is incredibly important. And how much of this is actually being moved from us to Europe and Europe to Ukraine, and how much of it are we actually using our capability of bringing in ourselves to the Ukrainians directly?
Well, look, that is the great strength of the United States military and also of the alliance, and that is our logistics capabilities. It's unparalleled. And we have spent the last couple of decades working closely with our NATO partners to develop that capability, and our partners as well. And you've seen that. You've seen the Russian inability to communicate simply between their higher command and the troops on the ground, their inability to get the supplies they need to set up the supply lines to support the fight. On our side, we know how to do that, and we are working very hard with our allies to build that supply chain, and that's how we've been able to get stuff into Ukraine on a consistent basis. So that's the great strength of the U.S. military, and also it's worth noting that we have been working with the Ukrainians for 8 years now, helping train their forces to be prepared to know how to do logistics as well. So it's a great strength that we need to build on.
Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Congressman Adam Smith, thank you very, very much for being on this morning.